In this video, we'll talk about an advanced feature of the UX component that applies specifically to UX components that use panels and panel cards, that allows you to control whether the component consumes all of the space in the window or is limited to a particular element. So by default, when a UX component contains panels, as this component does here, you can see we have two panels inside a panel navigator. When we render this component in a page, the component consumes all of the space in the window. So you can see here the component is completely filling the window. But there may be situations where you would like to limit the component to only a particular element. So let's go now and take a look at another page where we've added this component. So we've basically gone ahead now and added this component to an A5W page, and then we've put the component, the rendered component, inside a div that has a height and width of 6 inches with a that has and has a solid blue border with a 3-pixel border. So when we run this page, we would expect, or at least we would hope, to see this panel, the UX component, being rendered inside this div. So when we go ahead now and we run the page, we can see that in fact we don't see what we would have hoped to have seen, that the panel, that the UX component has consumed all of the space in the window. So now let's go back to this component here, and we'll go to Properties, and we'll scroll down to the Advanced section, and we can see here that there's a property here called the Render Position for UX Component, and by default it's set to Window. So I'm going to go here and change it to Element, and then specify an element of my div. So if we go now to our HTML page, we can see that we have an element here called my div that has a height of 6 inches, a width of 4 inches, and a padding of 20% on an outer container that has a blue border. So let's go ahead now and run this page. And this time, let's go ahead, and let me just get this all set up correctly. I need to save this component. I haven't saved it yet, so let's go and save it there. And now rerun this page. And so now what we see is the component being rendered inside this div, as we would have hoped to have seen in the first place. So there's the component with panels all working correctly, but constrained to this target element that we specified in the UX Builder. So let's just go back here and take a look at this. So there in our UX Builder, we've specified that the component should run inside an element called my div. Now if we go, say, to Working Preview here, where we're running now inside a default page that doesn't have this div, then you can see that because the div doesn't exist, we're now back to our default behavior where the component automatically consumes all the space. So this setting here is only enforced if the my div element actually physically exists. If that element is not found, then the default behavior of the component is used. So with this new feature here, you're able to constrain the component to a particular element. So when you create your HTML page that renders the component, you've got complete control over the size and position of the component. And just additional piece of information here, in this div that surrounds the containing div, we've used display inline block, which means that this containing div now, instead of having a default width of 100%, is now constrained to the width of the elements that are inside it. So thanks very much for watching.